Hello, everyone. Welcome to the midday Power Boost meditation. And the topic today is smile. Smile. Smile even in the midst of adversity. Even if we could just begin to smile more, that would be nice. Sometimes walking down the street and realizing nobody smiles, that the default expression on the face is either of what that lifeless or maybe even sometimes a bit annoyed or stressed or angry or depressed. But just smile. And there's no, why do we need a reason to smile? Why can't we just have a mindset that is pleasant? Why don't we just hold in our mind beautiful thoughts that make us smile? And then we would be pleasant scenery for others who look at us, and others will be pleasant scenery for us, instead of being confronted all the time with faces that are either expressionless or maybe even angry or annoyed. And in the subway is a good place for those who live in big cities where there are subways. Kind of interesting to look around and see what goes on. But for the self, smile. But of course, it shouldn't be a pretend. No, we can smile like this. But actually, deep inside, there are some other thoughts and feelings going on which are not pleasant at all. Pretend or fake or manipulative smiling, but a true smiling. And of course, that goes deeper than just thoughts and trying to control thoughts. That has to do with a certain mindset and a certain state of consciousness and a certain perspective on self and on life and on the present moment and the scenes in the drama of life, how we perceive them and how we look at them. But just to be aware that every scene of the drama, there are different angles with which you can look at them. And this reminds me of a short anecdote of a mother and a son. And one day it is thunder and lightning and heavy rain and thunder and lightning. And so this little boy runs out, and mother in agony. It is thunder and rain and lightning. This boy standing outside and he's smiling, looking up at the sky and he's smiling. And so his mother, all stressed up and in anxiety, she goes out and carries this boy inside and says, "What are you doing? This is dangerous." And the boy said, "No, it's dangerous. I had to smile because God is taking my photograph." So that scene in the mind of that boy, he interprets it as God is looking at me and God is taking my photograph. And his mother, that same situation, she is in anxiety and stress and panic and annoyance. And of course, this is just an anecdote, but in every situation, there are different angles to look at that same thing. Even thunder and lightning and rain pouring, it is actually a fascinating phenomena in nature if you truly look at it. But we are so conditioned to get annoyed with it when it's raining, or we are scared or whatever. And of course, there are certain situations that we need to be careful to a certain extent. But most of the time, thunder and lightning is just a beautiful phenomena of nature. And any situation, there are different angles to look at it. And in general, to create a mindset and a perspective on life that make you smile, but to always, even in times of adversities, look at the deeper secrets and the deeper signals of life, or look at a different perspective on it. And you can find reasons to smile, or at least not to fall into depression. That situation is making you more experienced, or there is a test within that situation so that you can become more resilient or more powerful or more tolerant or more loving. And so there are reasons. If we take the right mental positioning to deal with that situation. And at a deeper spiritual level, there is actually always reason to smile if we're in spiritual consciousness. Understanding the self as a spiritual being, an invisible traveler, an invisible experiencer who is immortal, who is timeless, who is imperishable, a being of consciousness, being of light. We use the image of light, has come into this physical world as a visitor, as a traveler, and many things are here to observe during the journey. But ultimately, the soul is imperishable. And at the end of the journey, soul will go back home intact, go back to the Supreme Soul. And the innate nature of the soul is one of playfulness and one of freedom and one of peace and one of wisdom. And so when we come back to that mental positioning, then on the journey, the different situations in the drama of life, they are just variety scenes for the soul to experience. But the bigger truth, the bigger perspective, is one that always holds a certain benevolence and a certain bigger clarity. And so once one is connected with that spiritual truth, there are always inner reasons to smile. So meditation is just to reinforce every time again that spiritual perspective, to reinforce that spiritual identity. And so let's have some moments of deeper reflection and coming back to essence, connecting back to origin. And so withdraw the attention from the external and let us aim to, in a second, grasp that awareness of the self as the invisible being of consciousness. One who is like a living light. One who temporarily operates this body and this whole physical personality, plays out a part. But that invisible being of consciousness is the real self. The one who uses the mind to create thoughts. the one who chooses thoughts and chooses the action, the one who makes the body move, the one who uses the eyes to see, the one who uses this brain. It's the soul, invisible, tiny, living light. We use the image of a star to indicate soul. This living light is like an observer of the body, an observer of the scenes in the drama of life. Tiny star. Free. Like a traveler through time and space. Just hold that awareness of true self as this tiny, tiny, tiny star who is imperishable, who is benevolent in nature, a being of peace. Innately divine, one who belongs to God, supreme star, supreme light. And just being in this awareness, there are naturally pleasant feelings. And there is a natural kind of smile on the face. It expresses naturally when there is this awareness but with certain conviction, certainty. The real self is the eternal, immortal soul, timeless, living light. In the body and the physical personality, it's just extra gain. And so anything happens to the body is just like a challenge in the game. How to remain detached and peaceful. Challenging interactions with others in this game. They are like little hurdles to see how much power of tolerance is there, how much awareness of truth is there. The other is also a spiritual being playing a part. And soul to soul, eternally, we are brothers. Tiny living lights. Free. Innocent beings. Playful. Light. And if you want, we can even zoom in to that connection with the Supreme, who is also a living light. But who is ocean of truth, invisible being of consciousness, always aware of the big truth. The truth that all are souls, living stars, that all have an eternal home, the dimension of silence, all belong to the Supreme Parent. And that the physical dimension is a big game with variety of challenges and sceneries. But from the perspective of God and from the perspective of the whole, it's a wonderful game. And the living stars are the players. And in a game, in sports, even though there are challenges, and there are challenges with certain grades of difficulty, but deeper inside, there is a joy to use the skills to overcome the hurdles and to practice. A good athlete is enjoying the sports and at least has an inner smile always. Let's be good spiritual athletes and use the tools and use the different hurdles and the scenes of the drama of life to up the skills to play the game, to play the sport. And start with little hurdles. Don't go for the big ones right away. Like a good athlete, you build it up. But that spirit of game, that playful attitude, makes it natural to smile. But at least hold that state of a certain inner joy. So as this living star continues on the journey, let us hold this aim of imperishable spiritual athlete. And God is coach, best coach, most wise coach, most knowledgeable coach, and most loving coach. Have a good day, and we'll meet again.